With just 5 days to go until the Democratic primary election for Ohio's 11th district, the race is heating up between the two frontrunners. Chantel Brown and Nina Turner lead the pack of 13 candidates vying for the seat, one that has been held by a black woman since 1999. But in many ways, the race is a snapshot of a fight within the Democratic Party, as Turner's progressive initiatives and Brown's so-called establishment ideas come to a head. So, Washington Post reporter David Weigel joins us now to talk a little bit more about these candidates and how voters are responding as Election Day gets closer. Thanks for joining us. So we have 13 people on the ballot, but somehow these two women sort of rose to the top. What is it about them that is appealing to voters?
Well, with Nina Turner, she has been well known in the Cleveland area. She has not won an election there in almost a decade, but she was an important figure in the Democratic Party. She was a spokesman for Bernie Sanders' two presidential campaigns. She's very well known. When I was out on the trail, she was being recognized places. People were kind of crossing the street to talk to her, and that was somewhat a function of the ad campaign, somewhat a function of how well known she is. Chantel Brown was less well known. She runs the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party, but one reason I think the race closed the way it did is that Turner's campaign strategy was use her advantages, which include this gigantic access to national donors, her own kind of campaign talents, her messaging, use that, build a lead, have nobody catch up. What happened was that Chantel Brown consolidated a lot of the anti-Turner vote with the help of James Clyburn, the Congressional Black Caucus, Democratic Majority for Israel, just basically PACs and Democrats who worried that if Turner got elected, she would cause trouble for the party's messaging. She might not vote with them on key votes. So stuff that when I talked to Turner, she said she wasn't going to do, but things that Democrats in leadership care a lot about, even if voters don't.
So Dave, Chantel Brown has been framed as the more establishment Democrat, while top progressive lawmakers like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, as you know, have endorsed Nina Turner. Depending on who takes the win here, what does that tell us about opinions on policy in this particular district?
I'm glad you asked about policy, because there are not great differences between the candidates and what they say. Now, Turner is more identified with kind of the Medicare for all or nothing approach, but that's not her position now. Her position is the Bernie Sanders position, which is incremental change. It's what can get done. But she's saying it's not enough to be a Democrat and just support the leadership. You need to be a Democrat who's constantly pushing them to do better. And Brown agrees on policy. I think she leads a bit more with what she's willing to compromise on. Her position is that you need to be there voting with the party. So it is less about policy than who is going to be a loyal soldier for the party leadership. And this is not an argument that you've heard in many Democratic primaries, but this is unique, where Turner was, I think, of the political actors in Bernie Sanders' orbit, the ones with their own political ambitions, probably the most out in front, attacking other Democrats, attacking Joe Biden. She participated. Now, she never endorsed a third-party candidate for president, but showed up at a Jill Stein event in 2016, the Green Party nominee, showed up at a conference about starting a third party after the 2020 election, which obviously she didn't do. She joined a Democratic party. She ran within the Democratic Party for this seat. But it's not ideology. It is the idea that if Turner is elected, she's going to be out there on Twitter, on the Young Turks, on podcasts, attacking the leadership and making problems for them. And Democrats with a small House majority that has held together very well, even with members of the squad not voting down bills, they don't want any more static. And some of them feel personally insulted by Turner, who in the way she describes establishment Democrats, calls them corporate, they're sellouts, they don't do anything. Some of them took that personally. There was 5 years of that rhetoric and a lot of hard feelings over the defeat in 2016, which Democrats like Clyburn say was partly because people like Turner didn't unify after the primary.
I think that's a really interesting question that's being sort of posed to voters, which is, which approach do you think will make the Democratic Party better? So we've been talking about, you mentioned House Majority Whip Congressman Jim Clyburn and the support that he has thrown behind Chantel Brown. So we actually spoke to him yesterday and we asked him about that, seeing as he is, an establishment Democrat. And here's his response as to why he was backing her.
I got to know Chantel. She became chair for a party. She became a commissioner. and she is known as someone who is very good to work with. I know that my experiences with her are very pleasant, and she told me that she was going to run. Would I help? I told her I would, and I'm doing what I can. So I plan to go down the weekend and help what I can.
So he's sort of presented it as, he has a personal relationship with her. He knows her, he likes her, and so that's why he's backing her. But of course, back to the original question about what approach do you, as the voter, believe will make this Democratic Party stronger? I guess the question is, what sort of influence will his support have? Because he's saying, if you want a candidate that's going to do what we've done before, but make our voices stronger and louder, then this is the candidate that you want. Is that something that's likely to sway voters?
It's been more successful than Turner's campaign thought. I mean, just in the way they've been acting. 2 months ago, they had internal polling that said Schuetz 50%. Brown, I think, was at 15%. When Hillary Clinton endorsed Shontel Brown, the Turner campaign boasted about how much money they'd raised from people angry. They didn't go that out of their way, but the implication was people who don't like Hillary Clinton had donated to Nina Turner. They were accentuating the ways they were going to challenge the party. And you notice in Congressman Clyburn's description of Brown, he focuses on just she's a good person to work with. There's not a difference. There's not a particular thing that she's going to help him with. It is overall she's going to go there and bring resources back. So what you have in this race is a conversation about who is going to go to Washington and bring back resources. Both candidates say they can. Turner has emphasized in her paid media, and her paid media has not been anti-Clyburn, certainly. She has pictures of John Kasich. She has discussions of ways she works with Republicans. She really emphasizes that she can work and get things done. Whereas Brown specifically says, here in Cuyahoga, I brought some things back. I increased funding for Wi-Fi hotspots during the pandemic. She'll say very transactional things. And there is a voter, and I was in Cleveland for about 3 or 4 days covering the race. There are voters who that is their concern is, well, whatever she said, which one is going to bring resources? Because this gerrymandered district is Akron, and I keep saying Cleveland, but Akron in it too. This is the poorest district in Ohio. It is one that would really benefit from getting infrastructure resources when this bill passes. The bill reconciliation when it passes, whenever that happens later this year. And so that sort of directness that we need somebody who is going to work with people and bring resources back. Both candidates have made that argument. The difference is that Brown has just said, and I'm not going to cross anybody, whereas Turner has both said, I can work with Republicans and I'm going to fight when I need to. And that's the question for a lot of Democratic voters. Do you want to hear somebody who says, I'm going to go there and fight, or are you a little bit exhausted by that? And the bet that a lot of Democrats have made in this district is even just talking about fighting more is exhausting people. They just want you to support Biden.
Dave, I saw a tweet from you a couple of hours ago highlighting an ad from Nina Turner's campaign focusing on this ethics investigation into Shontel Brown, and it was pretty stark with images of jail doors slamming. For folks who are not in Ohio 11 and who are curious about what these allegations are, break it down for us. And how effective are some of these ads?
Well, we're finding out definitely this is the second round of negative ads Turner has run. She's kept positive stuff in the air, but this negativity is in the last 3 weeks. And when I talked to her, she said she started the campaign like she preferred to end it, which with a lot of positive substance ads about the minimum wage, ads about health care, ads about equal pay. But this is about Brown as a Cuyahoga County politician. The Cuyahoga County Council has awarded contracts to people. The allegation, the ethics complaint was filed, and anyone can file one, but the state auditor's office has had this for about a month. There's an investigation of whether she steered any contracts to people for nepotistic family reasons. That is the kind of thing that sometimes leads to a prosecution. Sometimes it does not. But this is what I sometimes call the garbage time period of the race. We were throwing in everything. Now, this is, I think, a real issue that Brown could face, not one that probably that endangers like the Democratic majority. But Turner focusing on that, on self-dealing, on Brown as being corrupt. She's been trying to turn the idea that Brown is going to work well with Democrats into one that Brown is just in this for herself and will work with anybody who's going to help her enrich her. Brown is not, I'm not trying to contradict Clyburn that much, but she's not that well known in the district. She's been party chair for a little while. She was chair during 2020 when the party didn't do that well. She's been a city councilor for 9 years. This has been a knock on her, and if she does lose, the negative comments I heard from voters were not about corruption. They were not about anything personal, not about Biden or whatever. They were, I don't know much about her. She needs more experience. And so that's one thing Turner's trying to do, is that not only does she not have experience, but the experience she has seems to be more about enriching Shontel Brown than helping us. And that's not a high-minded Bernie Sanders style message. Remember, Bernie Sanders prided himself on never running a negative ad, never running an attack ad like that. And indeed, he didn't. Bernie never ran an ad like this against Hillary Clinton. He'd criticize her donors, but not slamming jail doors. Turner is a different candidate. She's running a much more aggressive final strategy, and I think that is the message behind it. Is even if you don't love everything I did, you don't know this person. Is she going to be in it for herself if she wins after running on her endorsements less than her record?
Really interesting stuff. Dave Weigel, always great to have you, my friend. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.